There is nothing more terrifying on Nickelodeon so far as the first draft of XJ9 from My Life as a Teenage Robot. Like, look at this thing. It is disturbing in so many ways, and it's so beautiful. Welcome back, 2000s fans. Today we're exploring one of Nickelodeon's most inventive and underrated gems of the early 2000s, My Life as a Teenage Robot. So this was released in 2003, and the series brought a fresh take on the classic coming-of-age story by mixing futuristic technology with the everyday struggles of being a teenager. It was made by Rob Renzetti, and it followed the life of XJ9, or Jenny Wakeman, a superpowered robot designed to save the world, who only wanted to do what every teen dreamed of in the early 2000s. Go to the mall, hang out with friends, and fit in. Even though for me it was drink Baja Blast. In this retrospective, we're going to revisit the show's original pilot along with its first episode. And that's right, they're different. I was not expecting it. It really set the stage for Jenny's complex and often hilarious double life as a high-tech hero and a girl who just wanted to belong. The series not only captivated fans with its Art Deco-inspired animation style and unique character designs, but also struck a chord with its themes of self-identity, friendship, and freedom, all wrapped in Nickelodeon's signature humor. Let's delve into the show's quirky charm, Jenny's unforgettable debut, and how My Life as a Teenage Robot became a fan favorite from the first episode. So sit back, charge up your memory chips, and join us on this journey through a Nickelodeon classic. We start off with a weirdly animated Tucker, and the animation style feels a little Johnny Bravo, a little Powerpuff Girls. I can't quite place it. He's practicing his pitching to Brad when the baseball accidentally hits the neighbor's window. A common trope in old TV. Brad tells Tucker that he has to go over and get it himself, and Tucker's surprised when a giant robot comes to the door. This gives me a very anime feeling moment as Jenny hands him the baseball. Tucker's way too scared to get the baseball from Jenny, which so would I. She looks really demented in this. And Brad comes to the rescue as he's stunned at the porch. He tells Brad that he saw a robot, to which Brad knocks on the door himself. He insults Jenny Wakeman, the crazy neighbor, interrupted by when she answers the door. She looks completely different than her usual self, but I mean, which character doesn't? I'm pretty sure the voice actor for the mom and Tucker so far are the same, but Brad seems a little different. And she says that there's no robot there. Brad asks for their baseball, and she says she doesn't know what a baseball is, and that's where he gets suspicious. As they try to resume their game, Tucker is insistent that he saw a robot, and the two notice one staring at them from the window of their house. This is also not recognizable, the house. It's so different than Jenny's final house in the series. It's wooden, it doesn't really have a lot of inventor vibes to it. It more so feels like a horror haunted house. And Jenny has lipstick in this, which is, I kind of think that's cute. Her mom reminds her that she is not to be seen by anybody and her only purpose is to save the world from any danger. Which I could see why they changed her personality a lot. It's a lot more unlikable to have a mother that insists you don't take care of yourself and serve the country and serve the world, I guess. Jenny is starting to become a teenager, so she's a little bit more angsty and insists that her mother call her Jenny instead of XJ9. A plot point that'll come back in the actual series. Jenny is insistent that she does not see anybody at all, especially teenagers. I don't know why she would say especially teenagers. Jenny's really insecure, so she blasts the mirror, and her mother actually asks her to sit on the bed and talk to her. She tells her that she's developing and gives her the teenage talk that you would normally have, but with a robot. She says, "Be a good robot and rock your monitors." Jenny resents how she's locked up and can't do anything, and then Brad comes to her window. Jenny's excited, but then has to become super defensive as her mother just told her specifically not to talk to teenagers. She says she's not allowed to have boys in her room, which isn't much different than real teenage girl life. And Brad insists on coming outside to play with them. He ends up taking her arm with him and then falls out of the house. But Jenny catches him, and Tucker thinks he's in danger until Brad explains that she's actually pretty friendly. They say they want to hang out with her, and she gets super excited. So they go through all these mundane activities like skateboarding, water fights, and getting ice cream, to all which Jenny has a really obscure response to. Like, she turns into a magnet against the ice cream, she has her own wheels for skating, and she gets electrocuted when she's squirted with the water. In a final beat to fit in, Jenny tries to eat the ice cream, but has to just take it out manually. Brad notices that her pigtails are actually acting a lot more like antennas, and that the Earth is in danger. There's a giant asteroid headed towards it, and within 5 minutes, they're all going to be wiped out. Jenny respectfully exits, knowing that she should be focused on her mission, but doesn't realize she takes Tucker with her into the sky. Jenny does all the cool stuff that Jenny's supposed to do, like zapping lasers and flying into space, and even lassoing an asteroid. Next thing she knows, she's back at Earth having saved the day, looking like a hero, until Tucker comes out from under her, revealing that he was there the entire time. Jenny feels horrible because this is probably exactly what her mother warned her about. But before she could walk away, Tucker starts talking about how it was the best experience of his life, and he's fine. The pilot ends with Mrs. Wakeman watching the kids and assuming that, hey, everything is gonna be okay. But it ends with a bunch of alien ships headed towards Earth. This is significantly different from what I know my life as a teenage robot to be. Aside from the characters, the voices, and just the general art style, the story relatively remains intact. The core theme of this entire show can easily be traced back to this pilot, where it's just Jenny trying to fit in and her robotics and hero life getting in the way. It's a lot more unique in relation to Danny Phantom, as this is a more practical, scientific-like experience, while Danny Phantom is a ghost. I would say it's the science substitute for Jimmy Neutron, which kind of makes me wish that Fairly Odd Parents and My Life as a Teenage Robot had a crossover, but I don't see that happening. As we get to the actual first episode of the show, so much has changed. The art style, Tucker's animation, Brad's animation, and we get a little bit more of a steampunk type style. The animation is kind of like Betty Boop, of like old 60s type drawings, with the big eyes and Mickey Mouse type stance. It's similar to the pilot in that Brad and Tucker are next door, curious about the Wakeman's house. Except the Wakeman's house is a lot more robotic and makes a little bit more sense for the characters. In this version, the ball actually gets stuck inside the house, and Tucker has to retrieve it. He runs into a giant monster-like shadow creature, and it turns out to be Jenny. I love that she's blocked by a shadow in this because it makes her reveal a lot more exciting, and it feels like we're going from Tucker's point of view, where he's just scared of whatever it is. Brad insists on him returning, and we go to a similar interaction with Brad, Tucker, and Miss Wakeman. Brad's a lot more timid. In this, Tucker thinks that Miss Wakeman's a robot, which is denied, so Miss Wakeman doesn't really have to lie. They notice Jenny in the house, and it's just as scary as the first one, but this is like silhouetted eyes, so it's a little creepier. And Jenny's room is gorgeous in this version. It's a lot more like a robot's room would look. And we get to see some of the cameras that are placed in Paris, Burbank, Tokyo, all these famous places. Jenny's room is combined with both robot things and teenager things, as you see Sync N in the background, Little Rover, Robbie, and even a fashion poster to show that Jenny really does want to be a normal teenage girl. Miss Wakeman is already frustrated with Jenny that she's caused such a scene and reminds her of her responsibilities. Jenny admits that there's not a lot to save the world from, so there's no point in her not being able to live a teenager's life. She shoots the mirror just like she did in the pilot, and Miss Wakeman says you'll see things my way when you're older. In this version, Jenny isn't directly opposing her mother's wishes, because when Brad comes in, because it seems like she didn't tell her that she didn't want her hanging out with teenagers. So Brad comes in like usual, and the two meet. They're both excited to see each other. Brad excited to see a robot, and XJ9 excited to see a teenager. They both have a moment of amazement, and it's a lot more positive than in the short. He asks her to go play with them, and she's a lot more flattered. And this just seems a lot more genuine of a friendship. Just like the pilot, the meteor is announced to be a threat again, and Jenny actually doesn't realize it right away this time. We go back to a similar montage from the pilot where they're playfully hanging out with Jenny, and you're seeing the differences between robots and humans here. Then the exact moment from the pilot comes up again when Jenny realizes that the asteroid's coming. Before Tucker can warn her, he goes up with her into the sky. Then we see Brad actually realizing that Tucker's not there. After an action sequence, Jenny stops the asteroid and plummets back to Earth. Brad stares at Tucker, and the same outcome happens where Brad's worried about Tucker and Jenny feels like she's let them down. But then she's surprised to hear that Tucker had such a good time that he wasn't even in danger. Mrs. Wakeman realizes that her daughter disobeyed her, but admits that Jenny's already saved the world today, so she deserves to have a little fun. She closes the lab, that's Jenny's room, and once again, just like the pilot, a bunch of asteroids start heading towards Earth. The improvements here are so noticeable, and it's gorgeous. Like, Jenny's a lot more rounded out animation-wise, the boys are a lot more quirky, and Miss Wakeman is a lot less intense. The world is a lot more fleshed out. It feels like this is some kind of future cyber world, which I love it when animation really commits to a trope like that. And they really let a lot of moments breathe that didn't breathe in the pilot. The pilot was 7 minutes and this is 11 minutes, so they added time, but it was relatively the same. All that extra time they added were for character moments. For example, when Jenny is impersonating her mother, or Brad is too nervous to talk to her mother, or when Jenny and Brad look at each other and don't understand what each other are. It's like things like that that make it a lot more breathable as a pilot. The idea that this girl just wants to be a normal teenager really resonates with people watching this channel. Like, I know when I was between 10 and 13 years old, this was my concern too. And if I were a robot, I would probably feel similar to her. It definitely taught me a lot about empathy, especially toward people that you think are very different and or imagined to be different. But by the end, there's so much, at the end, I feel like there's just so much more to getting to know people than it is to be scared of them. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. If you strip back all the robot stuff, it's really just about a girl trying to fit in. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Hannah Montana if it were a cartoon. I had so much fun rewatching this. I don't think I would have ever crossed the pilot on my own time, but being able to directly compare them to both was really fun, and I can't believe how many executive choices Nickelodeon decided to make. It just shows where their heads were at the time, what they believed their audience wanted to see in a teen show like this. And every choice they made in the transition from the pilot to the first episode seemed to be for the better. That's why development is so interesting to me. I'm just always so curious about how things come together like this.